Okay, let's do our best.
Okay, Daddy.
Nice seeing you, first of all.
Thank you, Daddy, so much for deciding to, or being so willing, a willing participant in this experiment of mine, all
That's
the way
great.
from Miami, Florida. If very many people, I doubt very many people who are tuning into this would be unfamiliar with you, the Reverend Dr. Mario Valsin
Mhm.
Sr., the pastor of Église Baptiste Adonai, Adonai Baptist Church, Église Baptiste Adonai. And how Daddy would normally start. Let me see if I can say this right. Bien-aimé de Seigneur, la...
You try to speak French now. Bien-aimé dans le Seigneur, la paix de Dieu soit avec vous.
I can never get that part right.
That's like greetings every day, every week, weekly greeting, to my
Weekly.
listeners and to my church. And that's what I use to start my program on Facebook every Friday and Sunday morning.
My daddy is becoming an internet sensation, having
Yeah.
millions and millions of views from all over the world.
Yeah.
Even here in Winder, Georgia, where the population of people are limited, I cannot go anywhere without people being familiar with the great Reverend Dr. Mario Valse.
That's God's grace, and I cannot but be, thankful to the Lord for this opportunity. In fact, I did not expect the pandemic to give me this type of opening, opportunities, but I'm taking advantage of it for the glory of God and to communicate the word and some good advice every Friday, mental health advice and
Right.
family.
I feel like Daddy, it's almost been like a resurgence for you, almost like a rebirth, like a new version of
That's
probably how
true.
you
That's true.
started and committed.
That's true. That's true. That's true. It's very demanding anyway. Demanding. It's more demanding than preaching at church every Sunday.
I can imagine.
Although, I do the same thing, but being on this Facebook thing, it's demanding. You must be more accurate that you are, for example, and completely accurate in terms of Bible references and quotations from philosophers and from writers. In some cases, in churches, sometimes you make some mistakes, some lapses, some
Yeah.
lapses, but you try to avoid that with Facebook to the best of your ability. And I would say that the last 3 days of the week are very tough, Very,
It's hard to get in
but
contact because you're busy.
I'm very pleased to see you this morning. I mean, you look, more dynamic uh, than I knew you before.
Thank you, Daddy. I'm not
Yes.
gonna keep you long. I know you're pressed for time, so I'll just kind of ask you some of these questions and see if you can offer some perspective.
All right.
Um, so the first question that I have for you is, and I know the answer, but did you have a father in your life?
Yes, I had a father. He was very involved in my life. Except that, when the situation was tough for the family, he went to the Bahamas. And
Mm.
I was at that time 13 years old, beginning of adolescent years. And he came back when I was in 12th grade.
Oh wow.
So for quite a while, he was unwillingly an absent father.
Yeah, well, but that wasn't uncommon in Haiti for Haitians to travel to the Bahamas in order to kind of
No, it
provide.
wasn't. You said common or non-common?
Uncommon. Yeah,
No, it was very common, very
yeah.
common. In fact, when I was a young person, most fathers would work outside of the house.
Mm. And you were the
So
oldest. You're the oldest of three, which means
yes,
that you had to take
definitely.
kind of the paternal role. You would say.
At this certain age, it was the case because when I say one, one of us died. So my brothers had to spend 2 years in my house, when I was minister. So when I first started the ministry, he had to leave the house of my mother to come to live with me in Cape Haitian. So Haiti, when you are in Haiti, being the first child is very important, but a heavy responsibility too.
Mm. Did you have any other outside of your father? Did you have any other paternal figures?
I would say that I had a very close relationship with the pastor, church pastor.
Mm.
In fact, I spent my last year in elementary school in his school, in the church school.
Mhm.
I began in the public school, and I went to spend my last year in the elementary school in the church school. And from then, we developed a very close relationship that would last until I left my hometown after 12th grade.
What would you say was, if there was any, the difference between kind of the dynamic between you and your father, and the dynamic between your relationship with your the pastor?
Yeah, first of all, as I said, I spent 5 years of my school without my father being in the house, and during all that time, I would say that my pastor influenced me a lot. First of
Mhm.
all, he and my dad did not have the same academic credential. My father had only his high school. This guy was an attorney, a pastor, a musician. And one of the things that I remember is that he had a very big uh, library, and he allowed me to come to his house 3 4 times a week, to read, to study, and to discuss issues with him. So he had a lot of influence on me, a lot of influence on me. And since he was a writer, all known all over the country, so all of us wanted to emulate him. So that's why I became a musician at a very young age because of him.
I was going to say that a lot of I noticed that a lot of the similar characteristics with the pastor that you mentioned are what you have. You have a library behind you, and
Yeah.
for all my life, you've always had a huge library of books that I often steal that you probably don't realize.
Well, I'm
Um,
going to send you a bill. So,
Uh, Daddy, did you well, I know the answer. The next question would be how many kids do you have, but I know the answer, so I'll skip that one. But did you always want to have children?
oh yes, yes. In fact, there was a period in my life when I wanted to have a son because my first two kids were girls, daughters, and I did not want to have more kids. I wanted to have just two. And when we had the two girls, we began to pray seriously because I wanted to have a son.
Hear the
And
name.
the Lord answered the prayer at least.
Do you think that parenting a son and parenting a daughter, uh, uh, do you think that there's, I don't know how to, I can answer the question. Do you think it's different raising a son and raising a daughter?
Yeah, according to me, it is because uh, uh, sons and daughters have different uh, issues that they are dealing with. They have different things that interest them, and in a society like the society in which I was reared in Haiti, for example, you have so many expectations for the son that you really educate them differently. But
Mm.
that does not mean that you don't have to do the same job for both of them. But they put a lot of pressures, I would I must tell you, on first child, whether you are a son or a daughter, and on the son. So yeah, now I'm looking back. Oftentimes I say to myself that maybe at times I was too demanding
Mm.
on the children, and but we could not do otherwise. And
I think I had a conversation with mommy recently when she was kind of going through like just the thought about some of the things that she was telling me something about my daughter, and she was just kind of explaining to me kind of some of the things or what she classified as errors that she or things that she would have wished that she had done better
yeah,
when it comes to that. But I think the universal truth as a parent, and I understand this a little bit being a parent now, is that you do things based off of how you were raised. You know what I'm saying? And how and what you consider as an important factor, a contributing factor to your children's growth.
yeah. But there's something else too. Your mother, for example, is a social worker.
Mm.
I was a pastor. Your mother has been trained in parenting, so I think that she must have made less mistake than I made, because I was a pastor, and in my country we fought for quite a while that having a child meant automatically that you are a parent.
Mm.
And it has taken me years to understand that I made a lot of mistakes because we were, functioning almost routinely.
Mm.
And I think that your mother must have avoided a lot of mistakes that I made because, as I said, she is an expert in parenting. But it seems to me that all parents make mistakes,
Yeah.
when you look back to the way you educate, you rear your children.
I was telling someone else that that I have the benefit. I have a huge benefit having the parents that I do have. Mommy, like you said, being specifically trained in these areas. So, like as far as the questions that I could have for raising my daughter, it could easily be filtered through her, and also just from a mental health perspective, and just making sure that holistically we're taking care of our spiritual, physical, and mental health.
Yeah.
Having you both have that kind of background helped with helped with influencing. Now it made me completely skeptical of people, but
Yeah.
but it helped with influencing just kind of overall practices. But that is to say that generally speaking, we are there. I think there are things that we experience, and uh, and the context is probably different because you guys are both raised in Haiti and then I was raised in the United States, but there are things that we experience that contribute to us how we raise our children.
That's true. That's true.
So I can definitely
For
understand
example, myself, one of the mistakes that I think I may have made while hearing you now is the fact that I had a very negative perspective on human beings. When you say negative, doubtful of human beings, and I had some bad experiences too in Haiti, being persecuted. So
yeah.
it seems to me that I should now, based on what I know, you know that I have a degree in mental health counseling. Based on what I know and the experiences that I've had, it seems to me that I should try to do my best not to instill in my kids, any new to maybe this negative anthropology, because all of us are human beings. We have good and bad.
Right.
It's to me that I emphasize the bad too much in the education that I was providing to all of you.
I think you just gave us perspective,
Mhm.
honestly. And I don't know if it I and I don't know. I don't even know if it was like it shaped our cognitive thinking. It just gave us perspective to know that when we go out into the world, everybody cannot be your friend, and
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
also okay.
But it seems to me now that maybe I emphasize that too much because are we as wicked as I have come to believe based on my personal experiences? I don't know.
Right.
Even in my preaching, I had a colleague in Haiti. He was a teacher at the School of Law School. And he said to me that, Pastor Valsin, you put too much emphasis on the wickedness of human beings. And this, I don't think human beings are good naturally,
Right.
but they may not be as wicked as I've come to believe and to profess, being skeptical of everything, every human person. And that's personal experiences,
Yeah.
which I should
Yeah.
not emphasize that much.
And I think anybody who has experienced some of the things that you've experienced, and I
Yeah.
encourage anybody who's watching to learn more about we have to get your preaching sermons transcribed into English so that people could really hear the testimony
That's
that
one
you
of my
have.
hopes. That's one of my hopes.
Okay, well, Daddy, how about this? What are some of the biggest untruth, the falseness, or the biggest untruths about being a father in your perspective?
One of the things that uh, tends to strike me is the fact that most people, especially in my country, think that the fathers must be rough and severe. You are the disciplinarian person in the house.
Mm.
And a lot of people in my country, especially at my time, did not make reference to the tenderness, of a father. And especially when you had a young son, they think that sons are so difficult to raise that you appear always severe. And this, I must say that I tend to, I don't know if it's only me, only I, but Haitian, we tend to take that from our fathers. Because my father, let me tell you, I was in the last month of my high school. So when I came back to my hometown vacation, because I was doing that in the capital, and I said, Daddy, can we play cards? He said, what? For me to play cards with you? Because fathers, at that time were distant. They were giving the rules, the principles upon which the house was to be conducted. And I was surprised, that he did not play with me. And myself, I have been a player with my kids.
Yes.
Still now, I play with my grandkids.
That's
I
true.
play with them so much that they come to record my program, as on Friday. But we spent 1 hour after the recording laughing about people, about things. And I think that's one of the things that my Haitian brothers, did not believe. And I think a lot of our people of my generation grew up in houses where we think that the father was always mad, always angry. And for example, my father had always something frowning the face, as though that he was the chief, the head of the household, could not play, could not be joyful. And I think that's very bad, I would say, for all those who have been exposed to this type of belief and behavior.
Well, I can say for certain that you did not take on that characteristic. Your grandchildren are amorous of you. Like, they adore you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Now, do you feel as though fatherhood is celebrated enough?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. And if I could be in a crusade, that's one of the things I would fight for. For example, in my church, you know that the month of June is the mode of competition in Sunday school.
Right.
They just make allusion to Father's Day in just one or two sentences. It's terrible. And when I was in Haiti, where there was not this competition in June, I am wondering if they mentioned that once over my 19 years of ministry, once or twice. And you see that mother, I'm not going to say that mothers are not important.
Right.
I was mostly educated by my mother, especially during my high school. But they celebrate Mother's Day is not only on Mother's Day, every day. And in the Haitian society here, they celebrate Mother's Day twice in May.
we celebrated the second week and then the last week of
last Sunday. That's terrible, it's just in passing that they say today is Father's Day, so we say we all the fathers happy Father's Day, and they go along. Before Mother's Day, it's a celebration, speeches, wise songs, a lot of things. That this must be changed, This must
be changed. Daddy.
That's a campaign that I must be involved in, for the rest of my ministry. That's terrible.
Out of everybody who I've interviewed about this specific question have said the same thing. Like, we want to be celebrated too.
Yeah, on radio, on television, everything.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you a very small example. For one of the Mother's Days, I did not understand, I did not think enough about it. I took your mother to a restaurant. No restaurant was open. There was no seat available in Miami. I'm not talking about Haiti now. Here, but
Miami.
For Father's Day, you don't need to make reservations. That's bad. That's bad. This must be changed. It must be changed. You and I and other people must talk to mayors and see
to make Father's Day more important. Okay, how about this then, Daddy? This will be my second to last question. What are some gifts? Now, you are a very difficult person to shop for. I remember.
It's very difficult.
I remember. I remember years ago making a purchase for you about something. I forget what it was. Made a purchase for you. I was like, oh, Daddy would like this. Daddy had two of the same things. He went back to the old thing that was comfortable. I don't even know what happened to the new
The
thing.
same ties and socks and shirts, But it seems to me that we changed from this perspective, from this standpoint. For example, you gave us a gift. It was for I think wedding, not for wedding. A ticket to a restaurant. I think that was very nice. And I think that the ticket to a concert, to a game when there was when there was games,
Available.
public event would be something valuable that every father would enjoy.
Now,
But
do you want something that you can share with mommy, or do you want something
oh
just
yeah,
for
no,
yourself?
something that we could share, definitely. But not
I
the tie, socks, and pen, every or belt.
said no more.
Everybody knows what you are going to receive. I don't know if that depends on that's correlate with the perception of the Father's Day. They take something that they know the Father's Day. Let us give the guy. So there is no effort to invent. I'm always say, to imagine what
Okay.
might be better.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable. So to be creative in the gift, something that's
Oh, that's true. That's true.
specified to the person. Okay. Daddy, this is my very last question. Again, I thank you so much for being so willing to be so
It's
open
been
about
my
this.
pleasure too.
But my last question to you, what do you want people to understand about parenting as a father? Now, you've fathered for over 40 years, and you have a wide range. You have a blended family. You have a family that you raised in Haiti. You have family that you raised in the United States. But what would you want people to understand about being a father from your perspective?
Uh, for example, myself, I've, I've been involved in teaching my kids when they were kids some principles, some lessons about life, about the Bible, I think. And, and one of the things that I have discovered, especially in junior, is the fact that some ideas that you put in the minds of your kids when they are very young, they do not get away from it that easily as some people would think. Last Sunday, for example, I said that to my church. Uh, I have my brother, one of my brothers, got away from the gospel and was involved in a lot of social things. Some of them were good and bad. And when I was studying in the United States, I thought to myself that if I don't do it, it was my parents' idea. If I don't do something to get him out of Haiti, he might be involved in trouble. So I got him through his visa. He could come to the United States and with the idea to stay. And I was surprised, Yamile, when I put him in the room and I went downstairs in the house where I was living. And he had to go take shower. And I told him that I would come late, would come back late to the room. When I came back, it was 11. I saw him kneeling down and praying.
Hmm.
I said, oh, our parenting is good because my mother, my father, and even I, as a minister at that time, thought that he had completely broken with the gospel, with the practices that were taught to him. And I must say that, I must confess that I have the same idea about Junior. I would not imagine that Junior would become the guy who he is now.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that one of the things that we have to do as parents, because sometimes you know that children are not happy. You might remember that not long ago you were in the house. They might not happy with some decisions that parents make. They want to go to this school. You decide no, that here's the school which is good for you. They would like to be in this neighborhood, have this person as friend. You say no, this is not the right friend for you. Here's the friend that I want you to have. Or even if you cannot give him or her friend, you put them in a neighborhood where they will not get to the friends that they like, and you discover that years later they testify that you are right
Yeah.
because some of these friends are in jail now. Some of those friends are having bad behavior, bad parenting. They are already divorced. They have this and that in their families, and your children, you see that they are making progress in society, they are adjusting, they are doing well like Yamile, for example. And and you say you say that parents have to do their job. Fathers have to encourage competition and gender independence. Mothers must continue to be to provide the security, to be sweet, because that's what we expect from a mother, from a female in general, the care, the sympathy, and establish rules.
Mm.
And one of my concerns with my Haitian brothers and sisters in church now is that now they are more in the business of rewarding children, even for bad behavior, because the child said that if I don't have an iPhone 7, iPhone 10, iPhone 11, I will not go to school. And the parents prefer to give them these things without, teaching them rules. So I think that parents, whether we are black or white, we have a responsibility of shaping the future of our children. And it's a role that we must try to perform as lovingly, but as firmly as possible. Because even if the child is mad now, in the future, they will recognize that it was for their good, for their well being.
And now that we should take an offering. That's good.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. And we'll continue to talk and see how you are raising your child, because that's one of the things that we cannot forget. We are living, so we have the grandchildren, granddaughters, grandsons, and to the extent that they succeed, our children succeed in the education of their children, it's also a source of joy for us. This means that we planted the seed, which is producing fruit. So our task is not finished until we die, because we enjoy that. And if they fail to, that one of my children is sick, and that's impacting me every day.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the children think that we're 18 years, we leave the house, and you might say as parents, they are 18 years, so we are delivered, which is not true.
Yeah.
Their successes, the successes of your grandchildren, their failures, all of that will impact you, and a reflection of what values you instill to your children. So it's an interminable task, being
Now,
a parent.
I'll tell you this, Daddy. That is a desire that I did not want to have. I didn't realize it until, again, becoming a parent, that some some of those characteristics of your children you hold as your own, as a personal reflection. I thought that you, Mommy, were just being hard on me, but as a parent, even to a 6-year-old, I see it like, oh no, this is a real.
That's
and like you said, coming to the realization that everything that you guys did was for my benefit, even if I didn't understand, even if I protested as much as I did. I know that I gave you guys a hard time. Very, very
not too hard. But I think that whether it was you or Junior, for example, I'm talking especially about the change of neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you decided to change the neighborhood not because you have the money, but because you want to take your children far from some type of influence. But you cannot explain that to a child of 10 years or 9 years, because you have been there. You know that some relationship will last if they continue.
Yeah.
So the best thing you can do is to move away from a neighborhood, from a school, from this, and obviously the children are not going to be pleased.
Yeah, yeah.
It will affect them, but you show that based on their age, they will undergo that more easily than they would if they were 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
So you do it based on the experience that you have had, and now based on training that parents have, and you expect them to see in the future that it was for their own well-being. And I'm glad to hear you testify this morning.
That you were right. That you guys were right. Yes, you and Mommy have been very, very right.
But you make mistakes to all parents when you reflect on the road that you have taken. You said that there are things that should be done better, that you might have done better.
Well, Daddy, I'm going to stop the recording now. Hold on one second.
Praise the Lord too,